G'day, hi, and welcome. All right. All right, so I guess this is going to be kind of like a This Week in World Crazy because I don't know what to title things anymore. I really don't. And it's kind of like, well, the nice thing is like if you put it on one topic, it's like you have to, stay on that. I'd rather just talk about the world in big picture form as I normally do. And I got, well, like I say, my prediction of Black Christmas is, or well, you guys heard what happened in Australia. I know they don't want people talking about it, so I won't go into depth on it because I don't really know much other than just the preliminaries. And I'm usually one of those guys like I don't have to have the details in 5 minutes because that almost everybody that reports on it day one has to retract everything they said. It goes out there as this is the facts and this is this and this is, and we don't know yet. We just don't know, right? So who shot who? Well, we know who got shot. The why, well, like I say, this is a part of the Black Christmas. It's part of the 110th expulsion of the Jews. It's part of the 10th Crusade. Like, it's a part of that. That's what it looks like. And I'm not calling for it. I'm just saying this is, stuff accumulated. Because the problem is you have these people that think, like, they can't think in nuance. They can't think in terms of, like, okay, well, just because I believe this is my worldview and it should be exactly this way and that's it. They can't forecast things like this because they just don't have they just can't see the forest for the trees that if you do this, this will occur. It's just when will it occur? Not a matter of if, but when, right? If you find a train track out, that the next train that goes by it is going off the rails. But if people don't see that the train's not already off the rails, like, well, nothing. You're just a conspiracy theorist. You don't know what you're talking about. Whatever. And it's like, yeah, but the next train that goes, well, when's that going to be? You don't know. Well, there, fake news. But it's like, no, it's whatever comes by next. Might not have the date and time for you, but I know nothing's going to be able to pass on that broken track, right? And that's what you have with these incidents that they're coming, and pretty much why they're coming, and like I say, the number one hated country in the world right now has to be Israel. Like, I mean, it's just there's so much outrage on what they're doing. Now, you say, how dare you say that, you anti-Semite, blah, blah, and you can't have a conversation with anybody one way or the other. It's either you have to be completely supportive of, genocidal maniacs, carpet bombing people, or you have to support a terrorist side. Well, how about the option is neither? Like, I don't care what they do to each other. Just keep it over there. Don't bring it over here. But as you can see, this goes back to what I was saying when I was a kid. Well, how long is it before you take refugee A and refugee B from the old country that were fighting there and they start fighting here? Or immigrant A, immigrant B, pick your verbiage here. But it still fits. When you bring in tribal wars, you bring in tribal wars, right? So that's kind of what's going on there, and you're going to see a lot more of it, and I mean a lot more of it, especially going into 2026. I'm not calling for it, but it's just like, okay, if you can't see it coming, then you're just not paying attention. And the thing is because these are not the problem; they are the symptom of a product, right? And these globalistic products have a lot of bad things to them, right? So anyway, I'm going to leave that at that. So we know what happened in Australia. Yesterday, there was also, I think, a shooting in the States as whatever. I don't have any details on that one yet. But I can imagine you're going to see this all over Europe. You're going to see, like I said, you would see it. So this is the first one. So Black Christmas, anywhere you go, like I say, I don't care who you are, keep your head on a swivel because people aren't doing well. And when you have a situation where people are just like that far gone, you know what I mean? Like, you're just not going to get any reasonability out of anything talking about it or whatever. So it's like, go look at it, decide for yourself, but just understand that this is a trend coming in. This is what's going to happen over the next, say, 10, 15 years. We're at the beginning stages of the 10th Crusade, right? Which really starts kicking off. If you want to say the 10th Crusade kicked off in 2015, that'd probably be a very accurate, even though you could probably, chicken and egg thing, go back a little bit more, but really noticeably 2015 with the migrant crisis. And that has all kinds of problems now. And there's no way around it, right? Like, like Canada, they're talking about bringing in another 2 million people in the next 2 years. So much for Carney cutting back on immigration, because, well, it's like, wow, there's immigration, then there's temporary foreign workers, right? So it's all this, verbal diarrhea to just, but it's people coming in that we don't need, is that we can't manage. We don't have a place for them to live. We don't have the hospital capacity. We don't have the school capacity. We don't have, the infrastructure, the housing, et cetera, et cetera. But yet the corporations don't care about that. They care about, I'm going to get cheap labor. And I know some people call me out and say, oh, Reg, it's the NDP and the, the liberals that want the cheap labor. Well, they all want cheap labor. But it's typically, what I said was that typically mass immigration comes in under conservatives for cheaper labor, and it comes in under the liberals for voters, right? Because they know people that get free stuff vote for them. But at the end of the day, corporation-wise, yeah, it doesn't matter if you vote left or right. They're all beholden to the same corporation. Oh, Trump is really sticking it to the New World Order. Carney's really sticking it to Trump. But they're both going to do deals with Microsoft. you know what I mean? Like, you can't even make that up. Like I say, Carney is invested in the same things Trump is invested. The difference is Carney's fighting for his oligarchs, and Trump is fighting for his oligarchs. We little people in the middle don't matter. And all the bad stuff happens to us, not them. They don't take losses. We do, right? I'm not going to go too much on the economy. I think I covered that enough in the past couple of weeks. It's just, nothing has really changed. The Canadian economy, good, bad, and gamble. Just going down the road. GDP numbers up, GDP numbers down, GDP numbers. We're not in a recession. Like, unless you say 1 week we're in a recession, the next week we're out of the recession. 1 week, it's kind of like what happens with China a lot of times. Like, oh my God, they're collapsing. Oh my God, it's the end for China. And then the next week it's like super hyper GDP numbers. It's just the way. It's like, once you understand what's going on in the system a little bit, like, you can't just give into the hyperbolics of partisanship all the time, where it's just, well, I hate Carney, therefore everything he does is bad and wrong. Or I like Carney, therefore everything he can do no wrong. And the same for Trump. Well, Trump is like, like he can do no wrong, and it's just everybody else. Or it's like, it's just all Trump. It's like, no, you guys follow. Look, I call out I've been telling you guys for at least 15 years that there are no good guys. There is not a single world leader out there that is serving currently, that is doing right by their people. But it's about the banks. It's about empirism. It's about the Anglo-American Empire versus Eurasian Pacific Empire. It's about stuff like that, petrodollar, all that stuff. Corporations. One world global centralized system. That's what they want. The Internet of Things, Agenda 21, Agenda 2030. It's about all that stuff, right? And once you understand that, it's like, okay, well, who's working in our interest? Exactly. That's the question you were supposed to have. Who's working in our interest? I can't hear anything over there. I don't hear anything over here. I don't see anything here. Nobody. Remember that commercial there, or whatever it was? Nobody. The Italian guy there. Yeah, I think he figured it out. Yeah, nobody is working in your interest, whether you're on the left or on the right. Doesn't matter. Every politician around the world has failed his people without exception. There are no exceptions. The only people right now, and it's very few, that could possibly accidentally do right by their people, or might actually, flip the script a little bit, is Javier Milei. Very long shot. No, it looks like he's more on the take than not. But he might actually have accidentally done right by Argentina, but it's too soon to tell. That said, on the other hand, basically you got U.S. farmers out there saying, okay, you just bailed out Argentina's beef farmers, and that beef is going to like top-notch restaurants and stuff like. So it's not like the B cuts that you get in the supermarket. For us little, whatever. For us peasants, but no, Argentina basically got their entire economy basically got bailed out by the United States, But what I still don't know yet, and if somebody knows, please let me know. Maybe at least if I don't read your comment, somebody else can read your comment. If Argentina actually balances its budget. Now, if it balances its budget, it's only up from there. Even though it might be like 10 years to 30 years for them to have a reasonable quality of life again. But, coming from a country that has collapsed 9 times in 50 years, you know what I mean? Like, praying for him, but he's a potential. Donald Trump is not on the list at all. He's not on the list. Now, the other two guys, one guy's in power, the other guy's not. The only other guy that might be a chance, but again, it's not what they say, it's what they do. And you have to go by when they take power, not by when they're trying to get power. Because everybody says the right thing when they're trying to get power. But as soon as they get power, that's when you find out how the game is really played. So right now, Pierre Poilievre could be possibly a savior for Canada in the distant future if he could ever win an election. But I don't even know if a conservative can ever win again in Canada. I know that the Americans will never have a conservative again in like Donald Trump basically pulled a Nigel Farage and torpedoed the right-wing boat, right? That's why you got Starmer over there in the UK. You could really blame Nigel Farage. The reason why we got liberals here, we can blame Trump because he endorsed our conservative to guarantee he would lose, right? So I feel bad for Pierre because Pierre does seem to have a genuine thing about him. I don't agree with everything, but that said, Carney, the slime ball, is the other guy. He's the other guy that might accidentally make Canada a superpower if he can do the outrunning the collapse of the United States economy. The only saving grace the United States has is that it has the biggest economy in the world. So it has the furthest to fall, but it is crumbling. The farmers are screeching. The farmers are the ones I don't care about Wall Street. Wall Street can go fuck themselves. They're pure evil there anyway. That shouldn't even exist. The bankers and all that shouldn't exist. But basically, the United States has come down to data centers and starvation. It's like the data centers are, I think, 92% of the GDP of the United States in 2025. 11% of their GDP is from manufacturing, but in that 11%, it's mainly building data centers. Now, up here in Canada, I think we have 3 or 4, but now Bill Gates wants to do more, so Carney's working with Bill Gates, I guess, Microsoft, to build more data centers up here. This data center thing is not about just getting us better pictures and AI and all that fun stuff. You've seen everybody having, my friend Dave there, my old bass player, he's having a field day with every night there. It's like watching the Dave movies. They're great. They're short little clips, kind of like the goofy stuff that you saw with me. I have nothing against that, but that's not what they're building these multi-trillion, $200 trillion worth of assets that, they're not going to be making money off of these things. It's for something else, whether it's just control of absolutely every aspect of human life, or it's like the emerging new super weapon, all of the above. I don't know. The complete takeover of the AI economy, where it's just okay, well, there's no more analysts, there's no more government workers. It's just everything is, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter if that's the case, because I'll tell you why. Because people will just live outside the system. At first, it would be hard to do because of all the brave law enforcement military that put people in jail for hate speech, soon for okay, well, you're not allowed to. You're not going to be allowed to bank. You're not going to be allowed to do this. You're not going to be allowed to do that without a social credit score system. But if you try to work and live outside that system, we'll throw you in the gulag, right? That's the direction that the world leaders want to seem to head us in. I mean, these are their words, not mine. They really do refer to us as useless eaters, right? Again, their words, not mine. Pay attention to any world leader around. If you're intellectually honest, I don't care if you're on the left or on the right, but if you're intellectually honest, there's no world leader, including the one you supported, is gonna basically, if you listen to them long enough, you're gonna go, whoa, 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 what's that crazy bastard talking about? You know what I mean? They're all insane. They're all fucking insane, every one of them, right? But Carney, the thing about him that I was not expecting him to be, that's why I go in kind of blind and neutral with every politician. And it sounds like I'm giving the guy a reigning endorsement. I'm not. I'm just saying this is where the bar is set. And I understand all the problems we have up here in Canada. Yes, we have the everything crisis. So does the Americans. So do the British. So do the Australians. Like the everything crisis is everywhere. You know, this idea that, oh, when I see all these American channels going, oh, look at how screwed they are in Canada. Well, look in the mirror. We're all screwed. Like, it's not a competition, guys. Like, we're all fucked equally here. It's not a competition. You know what I mean? And the thing is that there are things that Carney is doing in the positive for Canada. It's just, can it outrun and can we decouple from the United States quick enough, safely enough, and fast enough to outrun the collapse of the United States? I don't think we have a choice no matter what. Even if we wanted to completely capitulate 51st state-wise to the United States, it still wouldn't matter. We're all going down. We're all going down big time. The difference is Canada has potential if it is to follow Carney's budget, which again, we'll know when we know, but take it with a grain of salt that he'll keep within the budget. But if he follows the budget the next 4 years, then he wins 4 years after that, within 10 years, we could possibly have a balanced budget. And no country without a balanced budget, every country on the planet needs to balance its budget. It's just, you have to understand what that's going to cost. That's going to cost lives. Why? Because free shit, giving away free stuff all over the world, like you're feeding people around the world. And again, right now, the United States is setting itself up for a massive, massive food shortage, if it isn't already occurring. The inflation is already going up. Trump lies about just about if his lips are moving, he's lying. The same as Carney, but the difference is Carney, he's lying because he's a sneaky guy and he's trying to find a way to, get around the U.S. What the fuck Trump economy? He's trying to get around it, right? Trump has underestimated Carney big time, to the point where now it's like, oh, fuck, he outplayed me. Okay, well, I'll just get rid of Kuzma. I'll just get rid of it all. I'm going to kick over the chessboard. That's what Trump is essentially doing, like bull in a china shop. And that's how Trump functions. So that's why he's so easy to predict. Oh, no, it's 5G chess. Well, look, the art of the deal, I'm sure Carney's probably read that 4 times. I imagine Putin has read it 10 times just to better know his opponent. Xi would have probably read it 25 times and read Putin's biography. Trust me, the smart guys know everything about everything. Like, Trump is smart to a degree, but he's a horrible negotiator. The very little wins that, and again, I'm just, I know people don't want to hear that. He was supposed to be the good guy. I agree. If I was an American and I was in the States during the election, I would have voted for him too. Not with the illusion that he was going to fix everything, but that he would make things worse. But now he's clearly made things so much worse. Any little benefits that they are getting down in the States, and I am looking for them. I am looking for them. Up here in Canada, it's just, there's a lot of bureaucracy moving around. People are focused on just, like the gloom and doom of the headline. That's it. Right? It's like, we lost 1,000 jobs in the steel. Yeah, that's horrible. But we gained 53,000 or 56,000, right? The bigger question is not the jobs we lost. Is okay, but where are these jobs that we got? It's all like basically more Tim Hortons, people from India getting Tim Hortons jobs, because that's not good either. You know what I mean? Because the Americans have already ran out of runway on that temporary foreign worker program kind of stuff, where what they call H-1Bs down in the States. We call it Temporary Foreign Workers Program up here. But basically what you do is to keep your GDP numbers up, and every country's doing this. Every Western country's doing this. You bring in a whole bunch of illegals or legals, it doesn't matter, but they're all basically economic migrants that you're going to come in, the corporations are going to get there's job, worker shortages, all these worker shortages. There's no worker shortages. What it is all these companies want to get they're grifting on to the getting the cheap labor, right? So it's like, okay, well, if we could pay a temporary foreign worker 15 to 20% less than a regular worker, yeah, Canadians are never like, it's almost a curse to have a citizenship. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to get all the free stuff, you're going to get the free housing, you're going to get the free this, free that. But you have to understand what a lot of this free stuff is about. It is a way to keep inflation under check too. Like, you have to spend, you have to print money to keep the Ponzi scheme going, but you have to spend it to get rid of it. That's what a lot of these wars are about. Is to just, okay, well, we're going to buy a JDAM and blow it up, so we have to build another one. Uh, it's like the broken window theory, right? The broken windows are good for the economy because you break a window, then you got to manufacture another one. Okay, but there's a cost to that. The short term, yeah, you keep, kid comes along, you give a, like a neighborhood of kids a bunch of slingshots and they go out and smash everybody's windows. Okay, that'd be great for the window company. But the problem is it starts sucking up the resources so fast that it bankrupts everybody, or that have to keep paying for all these windows, right? So great for one company, but bad for. And this is kind of an oversimplistic view of things. And again, you get this with you got these arguments with communism and the garbage man versus the doctor. With libertarians, it's the kid with a slingshot in the window. And whatever, but when you really think about it, it really, anytime you create an unsustainable inflationary motion, it translates into a cascading effect of chaos down the road. So short-term gains, long-term pain, right? And that's what globalism has really gotten us up to, where we have to centralize everything to the point where it doesn't function. And we have to make it too big to fail because the inflation of everything and driving the currencies down rather than live within the means of a balanced budget, right? So this is one area that every country has failed at, including mine. So, but Carney is doing something interesting on the military front. Okay, the 300,000 conscript thing. I still don't know what to make of it yet because it's still more of a we're going to do this, but there's not a clear definition outline of what we're going to do. But the conscript army, I think, makes sense. I've been talking about it. Like, I like the Swiss model, the Finnish model, and the Nordic models, in like Norway and stuff like that. How Netherlands, Sweden, where they kind of have a domestic military, not a march around the world military as much. Now, mind you, this is sort of changing with Sweden and sort of changing with Finland and stuff like that, and Norway. Yes, they do send us troops here and there every now and then, but they're not like a NATO globalized. Every time there's a conflict, our soldiers are there. Japan has been like a neutral country. Switzerland has been a neutral country. I would love to see Canada get out of the UN, get out of peacekeeping and all that. I know. Oh no, we need to. No, we can't afford it. Look, we're buying stuff for the Ukrainians that we won't even buy for ourselves. I mean, I can rant on that all day. I'm sure most of you can. But on the other hand, we are buying some stuff that is scaring the shit out of the Chinese, the Russians, and the Americans, and that is these over-the-horizon radar systems. Now, mind you, if they're as good as advertised, the Americans will be very, very vulnerable to Canada if they don't have this technology. And a lot of stuff you don't get out into the front because the Americans, like they have monopoly over the weapons industry in North America, right? This is what this whole new Trump doctrine is about, with the new called Monroe 2.0 doctrine, where the fear of influence. Now, one of my subscribers said, Reg, it doesn't matter how many deals Carney makes because if there's a naval blockade by the U.S., you ain't getting nothing, and something along that lines. And yeah, you're correct. But this is also why I keep telling you, this is why we're moving in the direction we're moving, because we know we can't trust the United States anymore. For that very reason. If the United States Navy decided to blockade Canada, there's a lot of bad things that can happen there. Number one, the U.S. would lose every warship it has. You say, well, no, our Navy's bigger than your Navy, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but that's not how it works. Because the problems are not the size of the Canadian Navy. It's how many Mark 48 torpedoes do we have left? And how many Sea Scepter missiles have we built? And how many Harpoons do we have left? You know what I mean? And those could be, modified to be fired from shore. You know what I mean? So you don't even need a Navy out there, and drone boats, and our drone submarines, and if we have the over-the-horizon radar systems coming in, what the Russians are, Putin's not happy about, but go fuck him, right? Is that, and Trump is not happy about this either, is that if we get those things, they can see basically measure magnetic anomalies under the polar ice, meaning we can detect US and Russian and Chinese submarines under the ice, or any submarine, which might make submarine warfare obsolete, right? Okay, yeah, we got a submarine out there. Okay, well, there's like 20 US warships out there protecting the submarine. Okay, yeah, well, here's how we take out the submarine. Send in a drone with sea spiders on it. Like, we'll fire 8 sea spiders at them. We make those. They're like a Mark 46 torpedo, but like an anti-torpedo, but they can also be used to take out, other things. Or you drop like 2 Mark 48s on or 2 Mark 54s, whatever. You just get a drone that can carry this, right? So if the drone gets shot down, it doesn't matter. You just sunk a Virginia class submarine or a what do you call it, an Ohio class submarine. Americans aren't going to be happy about that, but they wouldn't be able to do anything about it because when they send their stealth in, well, the air defense, which we'll have to get air defense up and going pretty soon, but that over the horizon radar can not only detect stealth, but it can detect micro drones. So, if it works as good as advertised, I doubt it does, but if it does, even if it works half as good as advertised, that is a force multiplier. We'd be able to see right into the backyard of Russia, right down to the southern United States. We'd see everything coming. And you don't need much technology after that. After that point, it's like, oh, okay, well, just put the artillery shell here. And then accompanying with drones, stuff like that. So that's what the whole race for the Arctic is. Like, look, the Americans and Canadians are at war. We're in a very light war. It's an economic war right now. But we're starting to move on that military posture. The Trump administration is extremely hostile to Canada. And I know, no, it's because Carney doesn't know how to make a deal. But there's no deal to be made. Guys, there's no deal to be made. And people are still going on about that. I'm like, you're clearly not listening to Trump if you think there's a deal to be made. Trump does not want to make a deal. He wants to take over Canada. Why? Because the United States needs our resources. It's the same reason why they're going to go to war with Venezuela, which has already started. It's just right now, it's kind of like, we're going to blow up some of your coastal, boats on your coast, and then we're going to steal your oil freighter. And the Iranians, yeah, well, you can steal our oil freighter. Sure, we're going to go steal your oil freighter. So we're back to the freighter wars again, like we started in early 2025. Yeah, they're back again, just so you know. So I guess Alien Invasion 2.0 or early January, we'll see that again. Oh, man. What a world. What a world. But yeah, no, the United States is clearly at war with Venezuela, but it's really a war against Russia and China and Iran, right? Because that's one of their allies. And this idea of invading Venezuela is going to be so catastrophic because, again, we don't know how many anti-shipping missiles and cruise missiles the Venezuelans have. Look, they only have to get lucky once on an aircraft carrier, and America is going to have a really bad day. We're talking 5,000 to 8,000 people killed in one day. That's if you only sink the aircraft carrier. You sink the other 13 ships that are supporting it, you could have nearly 10,000 people killed in one day. Could the Americans do that on a war that doesn't even happen? But we're fighting drug cartels for democracy, women, and children. No, you're not. This whole, you give up on that. That I don't know anybody would still believe that. Like, it's mob bosses fighting. I can't stress that enough. Every world leader is a mob boss fighting against another mob boss, and now right they're in that mode where they might be trying to knock each other off. It's like a global game of Monopoly, really. It's ridiculous, but there we are, right? But that said, other things I said you would see is the uptick in assassinations and stuff like that, and like that is something that you're really going to see a lot in 2026 to a fever pitch, where it's just like if somebody's upset, they're just going to take it out on the next politician. I'm not calling for it. I'm just saying I don't see how we get out of that because we're so polarized. But every one of these little, okay, well, look, things are bad, but now they're going to go make it worse for us. Especially after February, once you start noticing the actual food shortage in the United States. I just don't see, again, I know there's a lot of doom on the internet and it only covers a part of the story, right? So, like, you hear about all the bad stuff and people get scared, but maybe like 90% of the farms had overproduction this year, but I'm not finding that. Maybe they did. If they did, you dodged a bullet for at least a season anyway. You get to eat. But my hunch is that no, you're not going to have easy access to food after February. It might even hit up here in Canada. Third worlders will be starved out first because obviously, the Americans are not going to care about third world riots if they can't get their food, right? But they will care if they don't feed their own population because they'll get, that's how you get a military coup and stuff, right? But Donald Trump, like I say, he's destroyed the conservative movement. Conservative movements pretty much globally because right now everything is just like, see, we told you so, but it's not what the MAGA people actually voted for. Most of the MAGA people are off the MAGA train now. Like there's the hardcores, like the Zionists will be on there because he does whatever Israel wants. So they don't care about the United States. They're not really MAGA. They're basically Zionists, and Trump Israel's his number one priority. Don't take my word for it. Take his. You know what I mean? So, yeah, Trump doesn't hate the United States, but he doesn't care about it. He only cares about corporations. Monsanto, Pfizer. That's who he's pandering to. I mean, again, that's not my words. Those are his. That's the policies. That's where they're going. Israel. So it doesn't matter if Americans starve to death or not. He won't care. He'll just say, well, it was Joe Biden's fault, And I'm not saying there's no fault or blame to be on Joe Biden, but the buck is stopping at Trump. That's the problem. And like at some point, people are just not going to believe the rhetoric anymore. And I know, like the Democratic people, while they're, they're going to swing the pendulum back so far left, you'll have to feed them with a slingshot. So we're going under after the midterms in the States. Look, if these short elections were so disastrous for the GOP, I think the midterms are going to be an absolute slaughter. We saw the same thing under like Obama and Romney, where again the conservatives were just like, well, it didn't matter if they voted for Romney or if they voted for Obama because they were both campaigning on the same thing. Just, oh no, we're going to screw the people over this way. No, you should do it this way. I agree with every second word out of Romney's mouth was, I agree with you, but we should do it this way. And I'm like, well, what the fuck's the difference then? You know what I mean? So people are just not going to show up, right? Which then creates really devastating effects in the States to see the hyper radical left. They're not going to rule. They're going to crush us. They're going to just kill us. Yes, gulags, death for hate speech, or life prison sentences for misgendering people. That's all coming to the States. So when you have all these Americans out there going, oh, look, they don't have freedom of speech like we do in the States. Well, you don't have freedom of speech there either. It's just, you're just a little bit behind the UK. Canada's just a little bit behind the UK. But we're all being ruled by the same people. Trump likes these people. Maybe not all of them, but he it's the same banker class. So, I don't know what else I can tell you, right? So that's what you got to prepare for. On that front, so these over-the-horizon radar systems are really making the Russians nervous. So Canada and Australia are really working on that. I just don't know how long it's going to get them to get these things up and going because there's $81 billion going into the Canadian military, and air defense better be a big fucking part of that. You know what? Don't scrap the F-35s. Agree to what was done. But there's more and more problems coming out with the F-35s. Pretty much everybody that's run the F-35 says, no, there's a lot of hidden costs. These things are nowhere near as availability. Like they're down for maintenance all the time. So they're good specialty aircraft, but they're no good for like a frontline fighter because you can't keep them in the air. You know what I mean? Like it's just they're like 3 or 4 times the cost to run them than what's advertised, right? Something like that. It's you can go look at it for yourself. There's a lot of different data out there, but all the trend is it's way more expensive than the initial price. So you make a deal for this, but you're going to get that, and that's what Carney has under review with the F-35. So when you have like these Canadian military guys going, so nothing but the F-35 and only the F-35, and then you say, yeah, but it's not just buying the aircraft. As soon as you buy the aircraft, then you have to modify all your hangars and everything to be able to service these things. Suddenly, the cost is way higher than agreed to, right? And it's all these hidden costs. So the SOP Gripen, pretty much everybody that has them seems to like them. Malaysia has them. Some of the Nordic countries have them. I think the future is going to be basically 3 fighter jets. The F-35 in the West, anyway. And maybe not just the West, but the F-35 is going to probably be one of the jets. The Rafales are going to be the next. And then, of course, unless the French come up with something new. And then, of course, SOP Gripens. I think SOP Gripens are going to be probably, within the next 10 to 15 years, the most popular fighter aircraft in the world. It probably is. Just because people are going to look for practicality, while economies are failing and struggling, like nobody can afford the F-35. And then there's just trust issues of the United States. The worst PR, of all the bad PR that the F-35 has ever, and again, when it works as advertised, it's phenomenal. But when it works, you know what I mean? But the worst PR of all the years of the F-35 being around, the worst PR has been Donald Trump, basically destroying the Raytheon business model of trust, right? Saying, hey, look, we could shut off your data links, your aircraft anytime we want, right? And people that have bought the F-35 say, yeah, this is a possibility. So who wants to buy into anything like that? No. I think the French have it right. You have to build your own. I think doing a 2-tier would be get the 16 F-35s or whatever, 19 F-35s, whatever we've already paid for, get them here, run them, whatever. But while we're doing that, this idea that Canada can't run multiple, like a mixed fleet because, it's just too expensive. It's not really, there was never an issue in the past that we couldn't do this. Yeah, you have to set up for it, but whether you set up for 2 different distinct aircraft or 1 or 8, it doesn't matter. Like at one point, we were running about 7 or 8 different fighters. We had about over 2,000 of them, all in. Like you had nearly 700 Voodoos, nearly 700 CF-100s. You had another 350 Starfighters, another 70 or so F-5s. The remainder of the the F-86 Sabres, which was about 1,800 of those that we had at one point. Sure, that was then, this is now, but the point is you still, whether the mechanic is working on an F-35 or a Starfighter or a Voodoo, it's still hours spent, right? So it doesn't matter if the training has to be new and all that, because we're not comparing the aircraft, we're comparing the fleet, right? Saying that, yes, you can have a mixed fleet. I think where Canada is going to have to, these radars, we have to go with that. Now, the United States does not want us to buy these radars because they want monopoly. They don't want us to be able to see what they're doing in the Arctic. The Russians don't want us to see what they're doing in the Arctic. Everybody wants to steal the Northwest Passage from us up there, The Americans have been saying, no, that's not, okay. You tell me. You tell me. Okay. Okay. If you're looking at it, okay. This frown. Yeah, I got to back it out a bit here. Okay. This is Canada. This is the United States. This is the United States. Okay. This is all Canada. Okay. That's Greenland. Now, mind you, Greenland's really about this big. And this is probably about the size of Canada, and Alaska is probably about probably about the size of the UK. And Russia is maybe about the size of China, right? So it's not the scale. The map's not the scale. So this is the actual map is called I forget what it's called, but anyway, there's the scale of it. Africa is the only thing that's actually to scale size, right? But that said, Northwest Passage right here, right? You get right through that. Canada in the 1990s finally broke through that with their icebreakers, okay? So Russia is here, okay? So we're at the top where there's Russia there. So they're way the hell over here in the ocean. There's Alaska again, okay? So Canada, here we go, right here, okay? That's all Canada. Alerts all the way up here, okay? Northwest Passage here, okay? Pawn Inlet is somewhere around here or something like that, okay? Northwest Passage, okay? International waters, well, you got Greenland, you got Canada all the way down here, right? Then it's the United States, okay? Now, the argument China is making, way over here, China, okay, there's Alaska, there's China, so China's like over here, okay? They're saying they're a sub-Arctic nation, China, way the fuck down here. You know, Australia is here. They're like right at the equator. you know what I mean? But Alaska's like way over here. They're trying to make a claim on some of these islands in the peninsula here, the Alaskan Peninsula, right? But these are like predominantly Russian. Okay, so China might have had in World War II some there, but they're not an Arctic nation. China's full of shit. The United States is an Arctic nation. They got all this here that they can claim, right? That's their territory. The Russians have here. So fair enough. We could see that, right? But somehow America is saying this is a part of theirs, when this is clearly an inland waterway. You know what I mean? It's Arctic Ocean. It's Arctic Ocean that runs through it, sure, but that's inland water. That is not an international shipping lane. And that's what they're trying to steal from us. Why? Because if you own that, you own pretty much the world. Control, shipping control. And what Trump has done is said that's a part of American influence now. Right? Now, a lot of Americans, that makes sense, sure. Yeah, but it's in sovereign territory. That'd be like us going down the Hudson River and saying that's an international waterway. You know what I mean? Like, it would make no sense, right? So obviously, like our moves in the Arctic, especially with the Nordic countries, this is what it's about. It's about, hey, the United States is starting to make a move on Greenland. They're trying to make a move on the Northwest Passage. They've already got the Panama Canal, which, okay, the Americans have sort of paid for the Panama Canal to build it and stuff like that. So they have a little bit of a historic claim there. But at the end of the day, it's like they have fuck all to do with the Northwest Passage. That was Canada that went through there. Not, like it's us that broke up and opened that water back in 1994 or 91 and whatever it was, 1990. If it wasn't for Canada, nobody would be able to get through the Arctic now. And no, it's not because of global warming. It's because we've got icebreakers. 19 icebreakers and new ones coming. So the thing is that is a contention for war. It really is. Like it's an area where Trump could say Canada is an international security risk or a sovereign security risk. They could just make up whatever they want, right? The base. The hardcore Trump supporters will just believe anything they're told anyway. They don't see Trump does not see Canada as a sovereign nation. Hence, again, we're at a trade war. So it goes currency war, trade war, shooting war, right? And this is a very big problem. Now, as the subscriber said, but if the U.S. Navy does a naval blockade to Canada, you won't be, we could block all your trade. Well, that'd be a major act of war, number one. If it did, well, the thing is that the Americans wouldn't be able to do it with 280 ships. Aircraft carriers are not Yeah, you can get through. You could do that. Like again, if you were to put the Canadian Navy, our 12 frigates up against the rest of the 240 ships, yeah, they're probably not going to last long against that and the 4 submarines. But how many ships do you lose in the process? Uh, if your one Halifax frigate carries 24 missiles, right? Out of those 4 missiles, 8 of them are really, really heavy hitting. They'll destroy a destroyer with a single missile. So let's say you just get 1 for 1, which would be very realistic. And in that 1 for 1, you lose an aircraft carrier. So you lose 12 ships, at best. Okay, and we'll say with the submarines, each submarine gets an aircraft carrier. So you lose 4 aircraft carriers. So you've lost 20 to 32,000 people. Okay, blocking trade on an ally that you had no reason to go to war with, but yet because cheerleaderism, right? It's like, well, it's my team. Well, Trump said we have to go to war with Canada because Canada's screwing us, right? Like this is what we're up against, right? And then people say, well, Reg, you're overreacting. I'm like, no, that Northwest Passage is worth trillions of dollars, right? The minerals in the Arctic are worth trillions of dollars. That's not overreacting. That's thinking, hey, no, we're being eyeballed for the next war. The United States would lose that war, and they're going to lose heavily. 150 million. Yeah, we'll lose probably all but about 4 to 8 million people. And we'll lose heavily too. There's no doubt about that. But the U.S. military is not big enough, nor is it strong enough, nor is it advanced enough to be able to fight with impunity the way people think they get. If the Russians can't steamroll the Ukraine, yes, they're winning in the Ukraine. And yes, the Americans would probably win over a 30-year period. They could probably win a war against us. But I'm thinking even at that, I don't. Every time I war game it comes out that you guys lose. And giving you guys every advantage you have, you still end up losing about 150 million people, most of it from starvation. And then civil conflict within the states itself. Like just that. But most of it will be like basically living with power out. Like the power outage. So everybody in your hospitals die after a couple of weeks because there's no more diesel. The lack of fuel. The U.S. military is pointless without fuel. You know what I mean? The thing is that yes, any infrastructure that will be destroyed in Canada will be destroyed in the United States. And the saboteurs would be, you won't be able to distinguish one from the other. But the difference is that the defense of it is heavily in favor of Canada. Like Canada is not, even where there's open country, you can't just roll tanks into open country anymore. The drones will take you out. The artillery will take you out. This is kind of what's making tanks obsolete. You know what I mean? And it does look like Canada's kind of saying, okay, no, well, warfare is cruise missiles and drones and radar detection. Tubed artillery, light and fast, moving smaller vehicles, moving artillery with low maintenance seems to be the best tactic. The Russians are using it. The Ukrainians are using it. Warfare is different. Big, heavy armor isn't going to be the way to go anymore. Yeah, I mean, there'll be always a use for it, but when $200 drones are taking out $40 million tanks, you know what I mean? It's a numbers game, right? And not only that, when the drones, like the drone boats and stuff like that, like Canada builds that stuff, right? The Sea Scepter missiles, I mean, that'll be coastal defense. You can put it anywhere. It could be fired off the back of a truck. Just give it 3 weeks to modify. You know what I mean? And we're making those. Mark 48 torpedoes. There's no ship on the planet that could, with a well-placed shot from a Mark 48 torpedo, you can, those Carnival, those big Carnival cruise ships, they take like 2,500 people, 3,000 people, whatever on them. One of those well-placed will sink one of those things. One well-placed will eventually sink an aircraft carrier. 6 well-placed Mark 48 torpedoes can destroy any ship that's ever been. You know what I mean? Yeah, and submarines are hard to detect, man. Yeah, sure, we only got 4 of them to year 69, but this idea that And it's like, oh yeah, but you're so behind the time and the technology that we have is pretty much mirror image. It's just we don't have as much of it. And I know a lot of people want to downplay, the Canadian military, but like it's going to be more about the tactic that's going to be about the equipment. Again, look at the Ukraine. So I know it sounds like bravado every time I say this. Well, I'm saying no. We must avoid this at all costs, just because Trump's got delusions of grandeur and he's gone a bit Napoleonic and wants to just seize all the There's still people that believe there's a benefit for Canada to joining the United States. There isn't. Yeah, things are bad in Canada, but things are much worse in the States right now. A lot of people don't realize that. It's like the script has flipped. But it's not because we're better than the Americans. It's because we're just late to the ball. That's it. But on other areas, yeah, where Canada's doing poorly, yeah, it's clubbing a baby seal. You could figure it out very easily. But where we're doing good is, like for example, our interest rates, they're a little bit lower than the American ones, so they're more competitive. But the thing is that they don't need to be lowered where the Americans have to lower, well, we really should be raising rates everywhere. All this, we have to keep driving rates down. No, that's why we have no purchasing power. Every time you lower rates, you have less purchasing power. Purchasing power in Canada is going up. And it's not going up because Carney's so great. It's going up because Trump is so bad. You know what I mean? Like, again, it's a weird scenario that we're in up here. It's just how much accidental wins do we get? Wins versus losses. Win, loss, win, loss. And it's just, will the losses outrun the wins or vice versa? I'm praying for both countries, but right now what Trump is doing, setting you up on hemispherical war, as well as on a track to, attack, use that as the stepping stone to get into a war with Iran, using Venezuela as a stepping stone to get into a war with Iran and China and Russia is not a good thing. That's not spherical hemispherical influence that he's taking care of. He's just looking for a reason to go to war for Israel. You know what I mean? Again, it's always comes down to that. And I think the people that when you follow it long enough, I know a lot of people, because oh, you said Trump was bad, therefore you're just a Democrat. No, I'm a right wing person. I'm right wing. I've been right wing for decades, right? So, if I just add the numbers up, it shows where things are bad. And again, the everything crisis is up here in Canada, so you have to measure our wins against that. The housing crisis, the fentanyl crisis, the all that stuff. But like Trump going after the fentanyl. Well, the fentanyl is not coming from Venezuela; it's coming from China. You know what I mean? Let's stricken down the border. It's kind of like the gun control issue, right? It's like, let's do anything but deal with the actual problem of actually putting criminals in jail and stuff like that. So what I'm telling you is that that's what you have to prepare for. You know what I mean? The chaos. But what you have to swim through is the propaganda. Telling every American that Canada is just your worst enemy ever, and the liability and all that. And again, when it's simply just not true. It's just simply not true because it's trackable. It's just you have to be able to put your hyper partisanship away long enough to go and look. Yes, you're going to find, if you want to find bad things on Carney, people, well, you said this bad about Trump, but Carney did this. Yeah. I agree with you. You're not wrong. You're not lying. Problem is, you're only looking at that. You're not looking at, okay, well, if I'm looking at who's giving their country the better balance, it's not a question, do I like the guy or don't I like the guy? I don't like either of these guys. They're both fucking arseholes. But Trump is damaging. He's just destroying the American economy on purpose. And again, he's told you he's wanted to wants the American currency to be lower. The main thing about the tariffs is that's how he's going to get his tax breaks. That's about the too big to fails. That's about bailing out the military. That's about fighting wars for Israel. That's about all that. Because again, Trump's own words. Americans are basically, you can't train, Americans are not trainable enough to work in the weapons industry and stuff like that anymore. You have to bring in people from India and all that because, they're so talented. Again, Trump doesn't care about Americans whatsoever. He doesn't care about the farmers. Again, phenomenal speaker, knows how to pander to his base. There's no doubt about that, and his base will believe him on anything. And the reason why we're in this, and this is where like the left wing people don't understand, is like, why did anybody vote for him in the first place? Because of all the dumb shit you guys did with your partisanship to get people to go to, even including a lot of left wing people voted for Trump, the most in their in recorded history, because of the assassination attempt. But Trump was saying the right things. He said, yes, we're going to have a trade war and tariffs or whatever. But he didn't say, I'm going to hit every fucking country in the world all at the same time with every fucking industry. He did not say that. Nobody was expecting that. And that's, so when the left say, we told you so. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Not even close. You didn't even know he was going to do that. It's just, it works to your political advantage now. So I call out both sides all the time. It's just right now, I got to bash on Trump because he's not giving me any reason not to. Like, he hasn't given the Americans a single win that's worth mentioning. And, you know, oh yeah, but we're making billions off the tariffs. Okay, well then why is your government still closed? Like, you know, like why do you have to raise the debt ceiling? If you're making that much money off, like again, what Trump has done is raise taxes on you through a Trump tariff tax. That's all he's done. That's all a tariff is just a fancy word for tax, right? But he's using that money for his buddies. You know, he'll do it for the tax breaks. He'll do it for this. Oh, yeah, but he's bailing out the farm. Well, why did the farmers need to bail out in the first place? Because of Trump's policy. Trump doesn't really do policy. He does a lot of rhetoric. But when he does do policy, it's in the favor of whoever he talked to last, which is usually some sort of fucking cretin on the planet, right? You know, again, listen to the farmers. Don't take my word for it. The farmers is going to scare the shit out of you. I think I've talked enough about the bad farming situation in the States. Canada has a lot of problems here. One farmer really summed it up really, really well. He goes, look, we believe the go big giant agro started with Bill Clinton. So like, again, you know, like Trump is just living out the buck just stopped with him. But, you know, you can blame every president since Bill Clinton on the farm aid stuff, the farm bill. And the thing is like what they did, and they did it everywhere. They did it up here in Canada and everything like that, is like, okay, well, something like, I don't know what the percentage of, if it was 10% or 30% of your crop has to go for ethanol now. Okay, and then it took everybody into, you know, like a few major crops. Either you're going to do, say, like canola, you're going to do soy, or you're going to do corn, right? And suddenly everything's made with that, or wheat, you know, like stuff like that. And everything's just grain based. You know, all our food is just grain based. It's just all freaking variations of bread. You know, crackers are bread. You know what I mean? Like, that's basically what we've done. But what he was also saying is all the farmers that have diversified, where they have like 30 different crops, they're doing fine. They're doing fine, right? Because, you know, like not one industry can wipe out your whole farm. And, you know, like if you're a soybean farmer one year and then a corn farmer, you know, because then you have to rotate the crops, right? But the thing is that when, you know, your whole crop kind of depends on one market. Yeah. But that's how the too big to fails were working, right? And we have the same problem up here in Canada too with the ethanol stuff and all that. And again, it was a scam. Well, it wasn't a scam. No, ethanol is a proven technology. It is a proven technology. It's not economical. That's all. It's not like wind and solar is not economical, but neither is ethanol. The difference is ethanol is still better. It's just when these programs come out, you're sold by the politicians that this is going to be the solution to this problem and this problem and this problem, when they just can't just tell you the truth. It's like, look, it's going to cost a little more to do this, but it's sustainable. I do like the ethanol model. How they go about it. The only thing I don't like about it, and Stephen Harper did this, is an area where I can actually criticize the guy, is that he converted like 80% of our crops to fucking ethanol. You know what I mean? At that time, I don't know if it's still like that now. But the thing is that, you know, like it's like, no. We need priority to food crops, period. Full stop. No exception. your food is the lifeline of your country, right? Henry Kissinger, hope he's burning in hell, but he said it best: control the food, you control the people. But I'm also at that point where it's like, okay, well, having a handful of giant agriculture set the price for everything where the farmer can't make any money off of it, okay, it's like, okay, well, I need to make $17 per bushel of whatever crop it is I'm selling to break even. But the industry says, no, we're only going to pay you 10 because we want to make up we're going to sell it for 25, but we're only going to pay you 10. Once your government is like done that, then well, it explains why almost every single farmer in the United States right now is reporting anywhere between $100 to $400 per acre losses. So for every acre they have thousands of acres. Like some of these farmers are like $500,000 in debt right now. They're going to lose their farms. This will, again, what was Bill Gates and Trump talking about after he got elected? I guess now we know. This is how the farmers are going to be bought out by Bill Gates, right? Now, that's probably, like we got to watch up here because it's the same problem. Like supply management, I'm not 100% against supply management. If it protects your markets, fine, but you have to make sure the farmers can make money, period. I think the price has got to be set by the farmer, not by the government. Oh, but we've got to keep food inflation down. Well, you're going to get it. You pay me now, pay me later, right? If it costs what it costs, it costs what it costs. But I'm not saying they should be allowed to gouge. What I'm saying is the farmer, we won't have to bail them out if they can make money, right? But if you got an ass clown that has raised input costs so high to every farmer in your country, such as Donald Trump has done, like this idea of going after the potash again. And it's like, okay, well, you're not bankrupting farmers fast enough. Is that what you're saying? It's like, and again, Trump will spin it as, oh, Canada, created a food shortage because they didn't just capitulate to us, and look at all the chaos they're causing in the United States. Because that's the way Trump thinks. That's the way it's, again, don't take my word, just listen to him. It's like everything else is somebody else's fault, not his. Spoken like a true psychopath, right? Biden was the same. Carney will be the same. They're all the same. It's always the other guy. It's always the other guy. It's like, no, maybe I'd love to see somebody fucking take responsibility. No, my policy was bad. Sorry, guys, we got to go back to the drawing board. Hang on. We fucked up. Let's go. Now, the thing, switching topics, okay, up here, and I was listening to Derek Rance, which Derek Rance is pretty gloomy. He's one of the, he lives in Diagolon. I don't know if you ever heard of the country. It's right between Obliganalan and Squigalon. But I don't think Obliganalan and Squigalon get along with Diagolon. I'm not sure what the politics are. But anyway, so he's in Diagolon, and he's like, we're fucked. He goes, the NDP, I think, just got a new leader, right? Or the interim leader, whoever it is. And they go, if they run this guy, we're fucked. Like, and again, the last thing we ever want is an NDP leader running the country. Trudeau is bad, but believe it or not, even worse than Trudeau would be an NDP leader. I'm in Quebec. We had Tom Moncler for 4 years. He bankrupted the fucking province. We had 23 years of Gilles Doucette, which, okay, yeah, he held us back big time. But even he didn't fuck up as much, and I hated that guy. Francois Couillard, or no, what was the hell his name? The guy before Pauline Mavois, that guy, Jean Charest. These guys were fucking ripping us off left, right, scandal after scandal. Coulier, whatever his name was there. And then Pauline Mavois, she lasted like a year and a half because she was just so fucking horrible. And then we've had, Francois Legault since then. And I hate to say it, but he's been the best premier Quebec has ever had. Reggie's a World Economic Forum guy. You're right, he is. But this is the best we've gotten. And he's, okay, there's a lot of things to bitch about this guy, especially as an Anglophone, right? But he's done better by Quebec than just about any other premier that's ever been in Quebec in its history. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, if he could just ditch the fucking separatist thing and really open up Quebec to the world, not immigration-wise, but like Like I'm all for Bill C-21. Like I'm for it. Bill C-91, not for it. But you know what I mean. The thing is I'd rather Quebec get back to just French and English bantering over each other again, and the natives not caring. You know what I mean? I wish we were back to that instead of the crisis we're actually in. You know. But no, he's been the best we've had. Best premier we had. The best premier I think Alberta's ever had has probably been Danielle Smith across the board. Maybe there's a lot of things. Oh no. What was the other guy? He was there for fucking ever. He was actually pretty good. Like he kept Alberta off the rocks for sure. Right? But we need to get back to just like really tracking what our politicians are doing so we can go after the policies, right? It's a slow turn, guys, but Canada is moving in the right direction overall, even under Carney. And even if it's not for the right reasons, it's still going with it. But let's get back to the NDP thing. So the politicians just before Christmas have this big, all the parties are all invited. It's a big dinner, right? And I guess it's a dinner fundraiser or whatever. And basically each leader goes up and takes pot shots at all the other political parties. So Pierre went up there. He said some pretty funny stuff. I got to say, Pierre did okay. I didn't hear what Carney had to say yet, whatever. But it's done tongue in cheek, just, banter at the other, whatever. Of course, waste of taxpayers' dollars, but it's government, right? But anyway, the new NDP guy comes up, and this guy's fucking funny. Like, he's got like the charm of Wab Kinew. That is so dangerous for Canada. It's because, like, if you can get the likability of Jack Layton with humor, the NDP will crush every party in the next election. It'll be a mind-blowing sweep, and then that's like Canada's already a non-country other than in name because of Justin Trudeau. And I told you guys that. Look, when Justin Trudeau got in, I said, guys, we had 4 years to get a conservative government, just to get 4 years to get to a real party. But there are no real parties coming up. We've lost. We've already lost the country. It went post-national. Now there's a resurgence of nationalism. Yes, elbows up is cringe, but you got to think about where it's going to be in 10 years. Like people are, like the send them back home rhetoric is really starting to get loud here in Canada. It won't do anything until it comes to a head in about 10 years, but it's already starting. Nationalism is starting, which is people getting realistic on what we're going to have to do to get back to, America First is basically, like MAGA is basically being overthrown by its actual self. Where, it's like, no. All these policies, these Israel First policies and stuff like that, and globalist policies that Trump is going along with, that he campaigned on not going along with, I ended 8 wars. Trump didn't end a single fucking war. There is no proof of that anywhere. There's a lot of rhetoric. Oh, he did well on North Korea. On his first term, he was doing well with North Korea. Crossing the DMZ, that was fucking historic. And that was the right way to go. Right? And that wasn't, it was calming down tensions. And then I don't know what happened. It started at the second half of his first term. He just turned into a complete shit show. And he's been like that ever since. But the thing is that, anyway, I digress. Getting back to so this guy is out there for the NDP making people really laugh. Like, he's basically, we're broken, nobody likes us. Okay, there's some truth there. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm broke. Hi, I'm such and such. I'm broken, nobody likes me. It's like, but he's basically it's an admission that, okay, our party fucked up. The NDP fucked up, and hey, look, we fucked up. We're, I'm sure all their policies are going to be just as stupid as what it was with Yadmeet Singh. And he was like, yeah, we got rid of a tall, dark, and handsome, buff guy for, slow, pudgy, and whatever, and making fun of him. The guy was funny. Like, it was actually, like, for politics, it was actually funny. But again, not what they say, what they do. But a guy like that could be a hell of a snake charmer, and like the 1950s staunch conservative doesn't sell. You need to kill people with kindness. That's like this angry conservative thing, no, people don't want it. We want conservatism. We just don't want it delivered in that fashion. And this is something that Pierre doesn't really get. Now, Carney, the thing with him is he is so mild in comparison to Trudeau that he seems like a far right extremist to half the people that voted for him, which is so bizarre. It's like Carney is so right wing. I'm like, this guy's like centrist liberal, man. Like he's like, there's, like it's like, okay, well, it's the ship kind of after listing back and forth wildly. It's okay. Okay, it's a little bit of a left lean to it, but it's at least it's not fucking going like under Justin Trudeau. So anything is moderate in comparison to Trudeau. So like I said, Trudeau, we had 4 years to reverse trend on his first, or Canada would be no more. And it would take a while for people to understand what post-national mean. Meaning you don't have a country anymore. It's now a globalist entity economic zone. And that is what has happened to Canada, but it's also what's happened to the United States. And it's just the Americans haven't accepted that they've lost their country already. Trump basically just handed it away. Him, Biden, they're all in on it, right? They're all in on it. But it doesn't really matter because it's all going to fail because the too big to fails always fail. And I've always said there's no such thing as too big to fail. It's too complicated to work. Even with all the centralized power stuff, it just does not work. So like the AI data centers, putting everybody out of work and all that, that's not going to work either because you're going to get underground economies because people are going to say, well, I don't care if they want me to work or not. You'll function within the economy that's there, but everything's just going to shrink down like I explained back in 2015. Or you're going to have all these little breakaway nations. They're going to be tribal. They're going to be ethnic. They're going to be, white people are going to, realize, birds of a feather. They're going to lose that altruistic out-group preference that they have right now, which is basically take care of everybody but your own, right? That's going away. We're seeing that, particularly in the younger generations. So Gen Z, Gen A, they're going to be they're not going to be as affected. Well, they're going to be affected by woke, but it'll probably still be on tribal lines, which is a good thing. But that also means polarization, balkanization, civil wars, genocides, all the stuff we've seen in history. And I think that's how it happens. We're probably not living through anything new. It's in the modern age. So I'm thinking if Carney sets us up for the next 4 years the way he keeps going, and I doubt we'll ever get a conservative government ever again in Canada. I think Pierre's probably the last kick at the can, unless he finds a way to get out of that rut. And it's not the boomers. I know the boomers betray you all the time in the elections. They voted for their pensions. You have to understand how people vote. Boomers don't vote for woke. They're not voting for woke. They're voting for pensions. They believe conservatives will cut their pensions. Right? This is why you need nationalist conservatism, not globalist conservatism. Because every time conservatives get in, as you see what Trump is doing, we're going to cut the healthcare. We're going to cut this. We're going to cut that. Right? Now, I know the healthcare system in the States is different, but Obama was supposed to make healthcare affordable. Obamacare was a disaster, right? Trump was supposed to get rid of that and bring in something so spectacular. He never does anything on it. Why? Because he's too busy pandering to Israel and their wars and all this neocon stuff and going to war with Venezuela and trying to start a war with Iran and Russia. And it's like people voted for Trump, both on the left and on the right, to get out of the Ukraine war. The majority of Americans don't want to have anything to do with it. I feel bad for the Ukrainians. Yes, it was the American politicians under the Obama administration that got this war going. Yes, Putin is still guilty for invading the Ukraine. But they made it easy for him. You know what I mean? They kept crossing the lines that Russia said don't cross, don't expand NATO, don't send Mr. Trump, do not send Javelin missiles and Stinger missiles to the Ukrainians or we'll invade. He does that. 2 months later, they invaded, right? Even I didn't think the Russians were going to invade, not because I didn't think the Russians didn't have the capability, but I was like, no, that's exactly what NATO wants. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, they want to fight Russia to the last Ukrainian. Stoltenberg has been saying that forever. It's like, we no matter what is going on in Ukraine, we're going to support the Ukrainians to the end. So in other words, yeah, right now you've got what, 1 million people plus dead in Ukraine, Russian and Ukraine. Like I mean, you're killing all of Ukraine's young men, while Zelensky's building gold-plated toilets for his buddies in Israel. You know what I mean? Like I mean, like it's just so fucking evil. The Ukrainians, if they ever do, I'm sure they know who's fucking them over, but it's just they're in the fight of their lives. They don't have time to deal with their government yet. But I do believe at the end of this, if the Ukrainians ever come to a resolve with the Russians, which I hope they do, because it's a brothers' war, Israel loves it. If it kills white people, they love it, right? Like I mean, again, don't take my word for it. Just go listen to them. Like, yeah, it's again, it's a tribal thing, right? But how dare you notice, right? So the thing is that what ends up happening though is that when that war does come to an end, every one of Zelensky's henchmen, all these State Department people, if they are there, they are as good as dead, because the Ukrainians are going to barbecue these people. They are going to do. Oh yeah, you're going to see like medieval shit happen to those people. But I've said this about the world leaders anyway. Whether it's Bill Gates, whether it's Klaus Schwab, George Soros, like if those guys like kick off, they're going to get out the easy way. Same way like Jacob Rothschild and Maurice Stroud and David Rockefeller and all them. And Henry Kissinger. Yeah, these guys got out before. Like they got out the easy way. But I'm hoping these men are burning in hell for their sins. They're just pure evil. But the thing is that I said this back in 2009, 2010, that the future of the world elites, not making any threats, but if you're an intelligence guy and you're listening to this and you can't see what I'm seeing, it's because you're not paying attention. It's because you're either paying attention to partisanship or just following orders or whatever. But if you're paying attention to all the little dots around the world connecting and looking at the bigger picture, yes, every world leader is going to be like that leader in Djibouti. They're going to, running with his suitcase, fucking clothes half hanging out, try to, China tried to buy out Djibouti. Didn't work. They had a revolution. The guy had to run from the country. Well, he just made it to the boat while the mob was literally chasing him down the street with machetes. Again, it's on video. It's like, you can't even make this up. Shinzo Abe getting shot at point blank in the neck. That is going to, and Muammar Gaddafi getting stabbed in the ass and then having his body paraded up and down the streets while people are dancing on his skull. That's what's going to happen to most of the world elites. Why? Because when people lose everything, as George Salente says, when people lose everything, they lose it. I'm not making any threats. I'm just saying, if you can't understand why people got shot up the other day, I'm not supporting this, but if you can't understand where that's coming from, what that symptom is, that's why those Jews got shot up in Australia. And that's why you're going to see it again and again and again. It all comes home to rest. It doesn't matter if you believe in it. It doesn't matter if you support it or don't support it. That's not the issue. I'm not saying I support the violence. I'm saying I can see it coming clear as day. That's why I said, watch out for Black Christmas. You're going to see these attacks all over the place. And it's going to be everywhere. Look, Charlie Kirk is the beginning of a trend. These hellhounds are going to come out, and these hydras are going to come out, and they're just going to start murdering people. Why? The world is insolvent. If we do not get back to moderation, we just got this hyper left and hyper right at each other all the time, that is exactly the polarization that it takes to create the symptoms we're seeing now. Right? So yes, you are going to see more people killed. Probably in Europe will probably, just around Christmas, or Christmas Eve, whatever, you're going to see a whole bunch of people murdered by Muslims in the UK, in France, and Germany, and Sweden. The Christmas markets. That happens. It's now almost, it's just what day, is it going to be on Christmas Day or going to be 2 days before, whatever. It's just, that's going to happen now. Why? Because these are the symptoms of mass immigration. These are the symptoms of mass immigration from countries you went and blown up in the name of democracy. Right? The chickens are coming home to roost. It's blowback, as Ron Paul would describe. That's why I say, anywhere you go in public, keep your head on a swivel. Look, I'm in a neighboring town. These are small towns, guys. Look, my town, there's like 240 people, 250 people, 280 people. 4 last names, right? Cottagers, maybe 1,500 of us. Nothing ever happens here. Peaceful, right? But every now and then, something crazy happens. Neighboring towns, probably about double the size, triple the size of us, because it's on more of the main highway. I'm at the library. I get out and I'm going to get some free books. I go with that, so I'll be reading that one next, probably. I'm out there and there's somebody screaming at having an argument like a street over, like a little small, little hip town, right? This, two people just screaming at each other over what, like it doesn't matter. And I'm like, if that's happening here, you know what I mean? Can you imagine what it's like in the cities? Yikes. Like I really don't like going to the city anymore. Like I got out of there in 2008. And I mean, I feel bad. I haven't visited my friends and stuff like that. And I love them dearly and I miss them and stuff like that. But it's just like, are you going to go down there and, your car's going to get robbed or someone's going to mug you? Like it's starting, like Ottawa used to be a very safe city. It's not safe anymore. There used to be like something like 3 murders a year. And when I was a kid, there was like 1 or 2 murders a year max in that city. Now it's like, don't go out past 7 p.m. You know what I mean? Don't go down this street. Don't go down that street because it's all these ethnic enclaves that are attacking each other, right? The cops don't arrest anybody because our liberal, legal systems and stuff like that just let everybody out. But we're going to go after all the legal gun owners because, we've got to get a gun buyback, right? But we're not going to do anything about the legal firearms coming across the border. Although there is a little bit of on the front on that, but it's getting to the point where it's just like the mask is off. You know what I mean? The mask is off. And the thing is, I've always said, guys, look, whether you're on the left, whether you're on the right, I'm on the right, but if my side does bad, I'm going to bash the shit out of them. And I know people go, that's punching right. Yeah, but if they're doing evil, they're doing evil. You know what I mean? And that's all you need to know. If they're doing evil, the chances are they're not right. They're definitely not right-hand path. They're definitely probably not even right wing. You know what I mean? Because the thing is like you can be left wing or you can be right wing, and that doesn't make you a good or bad person. And I don't know how I have to say this out loud, but it seems like I do because of the hyperpartisanship that you have to really, sometimes you just got to listen to people. You know what I mean? Because you find more commonality when you listen to all sides, where it's just you kind of like lose the my team versus your team kind of stupidity. And again, you see it everywhere. And I get it. People always want to have something to root for. And I get it. You want to root for a team, follow hockey, follow football, follow soccer, whatever, baseball. Follow that. Follow your team. Yeah. Go full partisan on your team. Fine. But politics, no. We need to look in the gray area. The gray area is where I find most of my best information because sometimes even when I have to listen to people I can't stand, sometimes they say something that I would have missed otherwise because my side won't say it because it might make our side look bad. But then that's why we lose. You know what I mean? Where if you get a moderate, it's like suddenly it might not even be a moderate, but it might be a protectionist mindset. This is why people are going from conservatism to nationalism because they realize late 1950s conservatism doesn't work in a globalized world, right? All it does is just polarize more and secede more to the left. You know how they talk about the pendulum swinging? There's this lady, I guess from UK or Scotland or whatever, and she made a good point. She goes, well, rather than thinking about the pendulum swinging, think of it more like the left-wing progressive ratchet, where they take and they never give back. They take more and it just clicks. So it's like, it goes like that and then it click. You know what I mean? It's doing one of those things. More of a ratchet. And that is, if you were to, that would be pretty accurate because the left is never lost. Even when they win, they lose just by winning, but they don't lose institution. Like even though Donald Trump has like every branch, like all branches of the U.S. government. The loss is not like he's still like it's still the right trying to pander to the left to keep these left wing institutions going. Trump out there said, "Well, why would we can't let our these universities that are all woke and stuff like we can't let them fail." Yeah, you can. Like this idea of like for-profit education system. Like you need to have operational costs. Fine. But when it's just like, okay, like arts majors, how many fucking more arts majors do we need? Like, there's no jobs that are equivalent to that shit. Uh, I've been bitching about this for decades, where it's our university systems have opened up to everybody, but it's opened up for the bottom line, right? Meaning about for profit. And the problem with that, and I get this whole argument, well, everybody should have a chance to go to college. Yeah, okay, but not everybody should go to college. Most people, like my nephew, I'm really, like, he's only 12. I'm really trying to get in his idea, in his brain, that when I get older, I'm going to run a business. Uncle Jeju, who you call now? I got to call some clients because you got to be reliable, stuff like that. And he'll ask me, well, what do you do? You know, and stuff like that. And I'll tell him what I do for a living and everything like that. And the idea, and then I'll give him a little hint. Well, when you run your business one day, you're going to have to, you know, this is what you're going to have. They just plant that seed of business. Never mind college, because college is pretty much worthless. Like, you know how many of my friends, well, most of my friends are Gen Xers, so they got out of they got out of college just before everything, like courses went like hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Like in the 1990s, you could take a tradesman course for about $3,000, become an electrician, a plumber, whatever. A doctor would cost you probably 10 years of school, which would probably be between depending on where you go, $8,000 and $15,000 of debt, maybe 40 grand tops. But you were going to start off at 40 grand a year as a doctor, right? Paralegal, my friend, she 7 years as a paralegal, going to school for 7 years as a paralegal, and it was about $2,500 a year. You know, so she made her money back. But the thing is that the debt wasn't so astronomical that it was impossible to pay off. Now, like kids are $140,000 in debt for like, you know, like some sort of social justice arts major or something. Like I'm like, it's just no, that is scamming the system. And the thing is that the universities shouldn't be allowed to be able to take in that many people for, you know, like it should be market based. Okay, well, you're going to go to university. Okay, here are the courses that are self study, meaning there are no job equivalents that we're going to guarantee you. Okay, this is what our markets need. This is what jobs are available. Okay, we're going to need to train up at least for the next 4 years 10,000 welders. Jump in now. We're taking the best and brightest. We're going to need another 3,500 doctors. Here's for the next 10 years. Okay, get in now, best of the brightest. And make it really competitive. Make it hard. No, oh, well, we got to lower standards and quotas. Get rid of that. Just best of the best. You know, citizens only and best of the best. But even Trump won't do something like that. That's how I'd run the school system. I bring back the trades. We got rid of the trades out of our colleges predominantly back in the late 90s because we were transitioning from, you know, NAFTA came in, you know, we're beginning of globalism where basically we're going to outsource all our labor. And now we're insourcing and outsourcing the labor. Anything but pay people a living wage, right? Because we have to have foreign workers to undercut the labor because, oh, well, there's all these worker shortages. There's no worker shortages. It's just, you know, we got to get rid of that stuff. That's the inflation we got to get rid of, right? All these college students with all this debt. The college student bubble debt is like globally is just absolutely, if it bursts, yeah, it's going to make the 2008 crisis look like a Band-Aid. Like it's going to be nothing in comparison. It's absolutely, you know, but that's what it costs when you inflate your banks, when you allow usury, right? Oh, but how dare you bring that up? Well, if you like living the way we're living, whether you're on the left or right, let's just keep doing what we're doing. You know what I mean? Or maybe we need to actually really rethink of how we're going to do things. And that means we're going to have to cut a lot of stuff off. You know, look, if we wait till we get to the point where we get into a Javier Milei situation where he gets out the chainsaw and your politician has to cut and slash 30% of your government overnight, yeah, that is going to kill people. People are going to starve to death. People are not going to be able to get medications, blah, blah, blah. Right now, a lot of Americans can't get medications. They can't afford it because they can't get the health care because the government's closed, shut down, right? That's murdering people, right? Many Americans, oh, you know, we don't need anything from Canada, but except for my insulin, I'm going to come across the border. And, oh, remember what happened in 2020? When the borders were closed down? You know how many diabetics died? You know what I mean? Because they couldn't go cross the street in the border town to go to the pharmacy in Canada to get their cheaper insulin, because the insulin on their side is $700-800 a month, $1,400 a month, $2,500 a month for fucking insulin, and it's $80, 40 to $80 a month here, or insulin shot here is still ridiculous. You know what I mean? Imagine 700. What happens to a diabetic after a month of not taking their insulin? You know what I mean? Like, it's a genocide program. And the thing is that we can bitch all day about what has to happen, but we're never going to get there with these political parties that we have, because none of them serve us. They serve their donor class. They serve their, like everybody, all these anti-Trumpers out there. Yes, you can pick on Trump all you want, because he's a cocksucker. He deserves it. I mean, he betrayed his own side. But the thing is that don't think your side's better. You know what I mean? And this is what I've been trying to get through to people. Like, again, when you have the United States trying to start a war with Canada to steal our resources. You know what I mean? Say, well, it's no fair that they can control their own. Again, watch for Trump rolling tanks around the Great Lakes and making a move on the Arctic Passage, right? Like, this is what we're up against. How is this a sane world? It's not. Look, we're going to need nationalism. We're going to have to, get rid of a lot of immigrants that came here illegally. We got to cut off the social programming to the all these immigrants coming in, because we can't afford them. If we just got that money back, save that money, that would probably balance our budget. And then if we had to, donate to a third world country some food and stuff like that, fine. But I don't mind helping other people out. But my grandfather used to say, best, God rest him, there's a fine line between being taken advantage of, or charity and being taken advantage of. And right now we're fully being taken advantage of, right? And the thing is that, as crazy as it's getting, and how crazy 2026, I cannot stress how crazy 2026 is going to be, guys. My forecast for that is going to be insane. But just so, Matt, if you're watching, no, we are not going to do the next top 10 insane predictions, because almost all Matt from East Coast Canadian there said, after I did every year in January I do my yearly predictions. This year it's almost 10 for 10. Right? But Matt had to take it one step further. Of course he would have to do this, right? He's like, Reg, you come up with 10 like completely insane, almost impossible to happen predictions, and I'll do the same. We'll see who gets most right. I think we're like out of 10 each. It was like we're at like 8 for 8 or 8 out of 10 each or something like that. It's like, no. You had to go there. It's like the world's crazy enough. I don't want to predict any more insanity. It's like, it's crazy enough. But guys, it's here. It's not okay. Like people, the collapse is coming. No, we're living through it, guys. We're already here. We're already there. It's already hitting us. The food shortages are coming. Look, in 2020, I told you in the next 2 to 4 years, 2 to 4 billion people are going to starve to death. We made it up to 1.3 and growing. So I was a little under the number, but guys, 1.3 billion people starving to death on the planet, in food security as we speak. It's probably well over 2 now. Well, from 2026 to say 2030, you're talking about 4 to 6 billion people that are going to be starving to death. Why is that? Well, when, we're at $4,200, $4,300 gold, the gold price, the $62 silver. I thought $45 was the all-time record. Apparently I was wrong. I hope you guys bought gold and silver if you were able to. I don't buy gold and silver. I think buy ammo before you buy gold and silver. Gold and silver, I think that there's still lots of room there. It's going to go up, but I think if like I said back when like 3 or 4 months ago, $3,800 silver or gold. What does a $4,500 gold world look like, right? What does $5,000 gold world, gold price? What does the world look like at that? And we see it's not getting better, is it? Right? Add in trade wars, add in all this other physical, kinetic war, add in all this all these scams, all this money just being laundered. It's a shit show. And you know that, okay, well, you can't stop it now. At this point, the only way out is through. So what I've been telling everybody, cheerlead whoever you want to cheerlead for, but just don't think your guy's the honest guy. Don't think your guy is going to do right by you. Trump does not care about Americans. He does not. He has proven this. He is about to starve you guys, right? Joe Biden hated Americans. Well, old stock white Americans. He hated the old stock Americans. Kind of like Carney, like Carney is weird though. Carney doesn't hate Canadians like Trudeau did. Like Trudeau hates white people for sure. Whatever. Carney just doesn't care about anybody other than himself and his portfolio. Watch the man. You'll see what I mean. Like he says all this stuff. He panders to his base. Sure, he has to say all the politicking stuff like that. Why lie and stuff? Because politicians lie. Breaking news, right? Politicians pandering. Breaking news, right? I get all that. But no, Carney doesn't give a shit about anything other than the money he's going to make for his buddies. That's it. That's all he cares about. But he also understands that he can't destroy his own nest egg. You know what I mean? Like, where Trump doesn't seem, like, again, Carney's a central planner, okay? And I get all the capitalists, central planning bad, I understand. But it's a different frame of mind, where, like, a central planner is trying to hoard in all the nest eggs. What Trump is a capitalist, what he's done is thrown the egg out and said, I'm going to get a better egg. When the free market's I'm going to throw this egg out, because it's not perfect. I'm going to throw it out of my nest, and the free market's going to put better eggs in there. But the free market doesn't put better eggs in there. You know what I mean? The free market is not the solution to everything. If you're going to destroy your industry, you better have a fucking industry to fucking make up for it. And this is what Trump is finding out. Like, no, where Carney's like, we have to pivot our industries because the juggernaut of the collapsing American economy is coming right at us at full fucking tilt on a runaway train on fire. Like that is not a nice place to, like, there's either men, in all fairness, either men been handed such a shit show that, you know what I mean? Like, who could deal with it, right? Like, how do you deal without, like, again, how do you deal with it with a ton of pain and suffering, no matter which way you go? Now, to give you guys, again, and I've said this about Stephen Harper a lot, and again, a lot of my American audience probably don't believe me on this, but the Americans have never hit the quality of life overall that Canadians have had under Stephen Harper. Almost nobody in the world has. Maybe with the exception of maybe some of the Nordic countries. Looking at you, Norway and Sweden, have hit like that kind of quality of life. The Americans have never done it. They've got a lot of things advantages over us, but they've never hit the quality of life of a Stephen Harper era Canadian. Even the liberal people at that time can look back and say, no, times were definitely amazingly better than what they are now. And Stephen Harper being overall the best prime minister Canada's ever had. Not a reigning endorsement, that's just where the bar is. Because he was a globalist. If he would have been a nationalist, we'd be a superpower by now. And Carney is a globalist, but with empiristic intentions. Meaning, no, we're going to buy those over-the-horizon radar systems. No, we're going to look at other military industries and bring them into Canada. We're not going to just march to the beat of the American drum where they just keep hammering us because every time we do what they say it's not good enough, and they don't need us and all this, and we're not going to be just a silent partner at the table. Carney's heading out ahead of that, right? But here's the thing: Carney got handed the Trudeau economy, which is the everything disaster economy, right? Like you can't even think of all the disaster, like how bad Trudeau done. He's done the worst prime minister Canada's ever had, and that's not just because he was a liberal. Paul Martin was one of our biggest scandal next to Jean Chrétien. Jean Chrétien is our most scandals wise. He robbed the Canadian public more than any other politician in Canada's history. right? And even he was not as bad as Trudeau. like how's that even fucking possible? How can your worst guy be like what did Trudeau and Chrétien go? Hey, I'm gonna yeah. Like Chrétien's like, well, you see there, I stole billions of dollars there, and yeah, I never got caught, eh? She went again, what? And Trudeau's like, hold my beer. I know it can do worse than me. Yeah, hold my beer. Harper handed Justin Trudeau, yes, he waited till the 11th hour to balance the budget, but Harper expanded government and balanced the budget somehow, which tells you it's the balanced budget thing is more of a matter of will than than not. It's like if the government wants to balance the budget, they'll balance the budget. But Trudeau, he got handed a balanced budget, a functioning economy, a growing economy. And he fucking destroyed us. Prints more money than we've ever printed in like 240 years. It's insane, right? In 10 years. He done that in 10 years. Now, that said, when was the last time the Americans had a balanced budget? Ronald Reagan? Maybe? I don't even think Ronald Reagan balanced the budget. He was probably the best president the United States ever had, next to Donald Trump for one term being the best overall president. I know I'm bitching about Trump, but yet he was one of the best. Like comparing Trump to Trump 1.0 to 2.0, two different men. And again, I know you're not supposed to say. You're supposed to say, no, Trump has always been the worst president, and that's it, and that's all. No, he wasn't. That's the problem. In the first 2 years, he did really well. In the last 2 years in his second term, he's been like just whatever Israel wants, that's all we're going to focus on and forget about everything else, even with all the problems he caused back then. But if you were to look at the markets, everything, quality of life, business, everything, happiness index, overall, Trump has still been the best president the United States has ever had, followed by Ronald Reagan. But the worst president the United States has ever had is also Trump 2.0. So it's just so weird. You know what I mean? It's so weird when you look at it. And again, that's just being honest. Like, no, you're either supposed to hate this guy or like this guy. And that's supposed to be absolute. No, that's not how it works, people. Stephen Harper, again, Donald Trump never hit the success rate of Stephen Harper, even if the GDP numbers might have been a little bit higher. But wages-wise, overall quality of life, nobody is taking a country to that level. And again, not a reigning endorsement. Yes, you can bitch about all the bad things, but I know about all the bad things Stephen Harper did. I'm saying that's where the bar was set. I'm not saying it was a high bar, but that in comparison to everybody else, like Trump made it to about maybe here, right? Biden was down here. Okay, now Trump is down here. Trudeau, he's in the basement. So like Trump is going to, like, at the rate he's going, he's going to make Trudeau look like a good prime minister. You know what I mean? Like, I hate to tell you that. Like, I mean, you have no idea how much hatred I have for Trudeau after all the betrayals of my country and, we don't know who the founding stock really are. What is a Canadian? Like all this post-national bullshit, which came back in like 2 seconds under Carney. Not because Carney wanted it, because, well, politician lying, I'll play along as long as it, works in our favor. Yeah. You know what I mean? Fine. But the thing is that Carney will be held to from post-nationalism, he will be held to the nationalist standard. And if he doesn't, well, he won't get elected again. But if he's doing all the things he's doing and he makes good on it, yes, we won't see most of the fruits and labors of this for another 3 to 5 years. But when we do, this is decoupling from the United States. This is decoupling from whatever and expanding trade amongst the world. That said, in a world that's in a, mountain climber effect kind of fall, right? Everybody's economies are kind of doing bad. The Canadian economy's kind of ticking up. It goes down, it goes up, it goes down. Again, right? The Chinese economy's doing it, it's this, right? The American economy is just pretty much swan diving. It's such big industry down there that it takes the longest to fall, but it is falling. Europe, France, and Germany. Well, Germany's deindustrializing, so they're going to be fucked. right? Because of the green policies. The green policies, like the EU is. I know Canada is moving closer to the EU, but and the concerns there is like how much pull is the EU going to have over? Like I don't want the Schengen zone in Canada. Like I do not want that. You know what I mean? Open borders is bad enough as it is. Now, mind you, our borders are not wide open like they were under Trudeau, but it's still way too many people coming in, even legally. You know what I mean? We just don't need any more immigrants, period. All these foreign worker programs have got to go. You know, and I believe we are going to get there. It's just we need to have a nationalist government. But the problem is if the NDP is going to be putting really likable people, we saw what happened when likable people get elected in our country, aka Trudeau, right? The media built him on this nice guy. The women voted for him because he had nice hair, whatever. Oh, he was so dreamy. Oh, here he is coming to his interview on a canoe and all this PR. And I was like, yeah, don't fall for it. But it's like Trudeau is like, people suck it up. Like, again, Obama, hope and change. Obama was a brilliant fucking speaker to people. He was all things to all people. Whoever he's in front of, that's who he pandered to. Surprise, right? But look at the disaster he was. The first 2 years, okay, well, is it just nobody's working with him, blah, 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 the same way people aren't working with Trump now? Or is it just he's that bad? Well, it turns out after 8 years, you realize he was just that bad. And then, Trump came in, started reversing a little bit, doing some good things, a lot of stupid things, but more good than bad. And then Biden got in and it just went all bad, but at a slower rate. And then Trump got in again, and now he's just made it completely disaster. So bad, worse, disaster, right? That's what's happening with the poor Americans. And in this, the lash out and firing off in all directions that, oh, well, Canada, they're a security liability. So like this new doctrine that the United States is going to be going to war with a lot of countries, including Canada, over this new doctrine. It's like, well, we have to take over Canada and do regime change there because whatever. Don't put anything past it because remember, Trump does not like Canada. He doesn't care about Americans. That part is true. He doesn't hate Americans, but he doesn't care about them. But he hates Canada. He hates us Canadians. That is very clear. We cannot make deals with America because there's no deal to be made. It will just get thrown out. Trump does not want to make deals. He wants to take over Canada. His own words. And all those that are still dismissing, saying, oh, no, he's just trolling. You don't understand Trump. Guys, I'm one of the original internet trolls. Dial up and chat boards. Yeah, that was me. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's crazy. It is crazy. So people have to start preparing for that. Like, I mean, yes, I could bitch and whine all day about, how bad things are and whatever. But you have to understand, yes, the only way out is through. So if you're not putting food away, like again, I know it takes a while to get into a prepper kind of mindset state and stuff like that. And I know a lot of people don't have a lot of money, but you start somewhere. Buy an extra bag of rice a month, whatever. If you can afford, like, say, 10 extra bags of rice just to start with, maybe do that. If you don't have enough food for at least 2 years worth of food for everybody in your family, you are in peril. Now, don't panic, but get on it. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. It's like, don't wait till, you can't do anything about it. Because it's the 16-week rule. It takes, no matter where you are in the world, the average crop is going to take about 16 weeks. And we are going into out of December into January. So we can't plant anything in the ground here in Canada till about June, right? So that's 7 months away before our next crop is going to be started, right? And you might get some stuff in a little bit earlier, but in general, you know what I mean? So you could starve to death within 30 days very easily. So law of threes, 3 minutes without air, a typical person dies. 3 days without water, a typical person dies. 3 weeks without food, a typical person will die. 2 days without food, the average person starts considering cannibalism. Within 3 weeks, they typically act on it. I've done this research for years, guys. I'm not lying to you. I get it. You can still stay on the Trump train if you want, but PrEP. I get it. You can be anti-Trump if you want, fine. Pro-Carney if you want, anti-Carney if you want, fine. PrEP. I don't care. Like if you're on the left or on the right. If you do not want to starve to death, listen to my voice. PrEP. Do that. Like one thing that Canadian Prepper goes off on a tangent all the time. It goes like all these mega influencers. They go off on the problems all the time, but they never offer, encouragement of a solution. Do not wait for the system to save. Do not wait for the corrupt system to save itself. Save yourself from that corrupt system by going through it. Right. So we know that out of this shooting in Australia, for example, they're going to crack down on gun ownership, okay, and hate speech and blah blah blah. Why no good crisis goes to waste, right? But it still doesn't matter because the end of the day, that is a symptom of a failing society. Now, what happens in failing societies? People starve to death in failing societies. Food should be your number one priority. If you need medications, stock up on what you can stock up on. Again, I'm not saying it's all going to go to hell in a handbasket in 2 seconds. I'm saying we're already in the handbasket and it's already on its way to hell. It's just, it's incremental. Like I said, like there'll be no full out economic collapse until war's, official. But we're already in World War III. Like it's already a shooting war. It's confined to the Ukraine, on the kinetic part. And it's financial on, like China and, America lashing tariffs on everybody. That's a part of the World War III. It's all one system, right? And the thing is that you're already living through it. Like, so, it's going to get bad. It's going to get bad. No, it's already bad. It's already, like, if you were to just take a time machine, jump into it, and go back to 1992, and compare it to now. And again, I know some of you that weren't born yet, you wouldn't believe what that world was like. You would be like, wow, everything's so sane and fun. And there was problems back then too. Nothing was perfect. Same like the 1980s. Like it's like just like you guys had no idea like how good we actually had it. But that set the framework. The bad policies back then, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, is what we're suffering now. So the bad policies today, 30, 40 years down the road, the Agenda 21, Agenda 2030 stuff is just going to be a nightmare for those people. But the thing is the younger generation, I think, are going to have a nationalistic turn. And this is going to be something that you're going to see it year after year. As the economies get worse, you're going to see probably people, leaving the West a little bit more, for other countries. It's just, we're here. We're in it. We're in the collapse. You can't see it when you're in it. I get it. When you're in the bubble, you don't see the bubble. But we're the fish in the water. We're here. So start working with what you can to become as self-reliant as possible. Avoid, like big crowds of people in like areas of vulnerability. Like, don't be in that park where the guy's going to be shooting the place up. Don't be in the mall where, or the Christmas market where, where you can't see the vehicles coming. You know what I mean? Like, just keep your head on a swivel everywhere you go. It's as simple as that. If you want to live, don't be sitting on a bus with your fucking headphones on or your face in your phone. Do that when you get home. Don't sit in front of the black people. Sorry, call me racist big, but if you're a white girl, don't sit in front of black people. They tend to light you on fire and stab you. This is the, again, these are just the ones that you get to see, right? The other 10,000 you don't get to see. Don't leave your children unguarded, in diverse communities. Sorry, just don't. Or you get what happened to that poor little girl in Sweden who's paralyzed now because she got raped so bad. 10-year-old girl, 12-year-old girl, whatever, by the migrant attacker who's been known to attack women left, right, and center. Because the legal system just don't seem to want to put people in jail like that because that'd be racist, right? That's what you're up against. That's the world we're in, right? And again, all you get is, oh, well, that's just a trope. That's just there's still people out there on the left defending this stuff. They defend the pedophiles. They defend the migrant attackers. Because it's not that they care about the migrant, they hate you. If you are a white man, they hate you. If you are a Westerner, they hate you. And they hate themselves. Again, it's a brainwashing. It's a religion, right? And this is what you have to survive. So that's the mission in itself. But other than that, I will end on this, and I'll be saying this until after Christmas. But don't step out of life. Don't be the guy just playing video games 24/7 on the internet. Don't be on the internet 24/7 because you're too afraid to go anywhere. Go live your life. Go have supper with your friends and stuff. Just maybe go somewhere where it's a little bit more safe. Be aware of your surroundings. That's all I'm saying. But that said, before you go and waste money on things you don't need, make sure you have your preps covered. I've been prepping for years. I'm not worried about that. I'm going to have to, I do it in batches. This year coming for 2026, I do plan on stocking up on a lot of stuff. And cycle it. Make it a part of your life. Like, if you live in an apartment building and you can't grow food, there's no reason why you can't store food in a pantry. Take one closet, make it into a pantry. Just have at least enough to get you through the riots that are coming, the food shortages that are coming, the instability, the lockdowns that are coming. All this stuff is, again, everything that we've experienced in the past 10 years is going to be probably the first 2 months of 2026. How do you like me now, guys? Yeah. Oh, yeah. When I'm already working on my my 2026 predictions. I'm like, should I do I tell them? Do I tell them again? Anybody that's followed my old channel, for been following me for years, is like they're probably just like, fuck, because they know I'm about 80 to 90% right most of the time. And it's just like, yeah, it's just like, is it going to happen on Wednesday or 3 months from now? It's just not a matter of if, but yeah, we're going there. Yes, fuck. So when I tell you who the bad guys are, I'm not lying to you. And again, what I'm trying to get you to do is like, okay, just look at all sides of the argument and then just try to figure out what's actually happening, because it is hard. It is really hard, because half the people you listen to, even on your own side, are giving you fake news. Half the people that are opposing you are giving you fake news. This is really tricky. And I said this in early this year, 2025. I said, look, the news cycle, don't be first to jump on it. Anything, just give it a week, give it 2 weeks before you, because like the story is always like so wrong from what it actually gets reported at first, right? Because it's just, everything is so political. It's just like, well, it was this guy because I don't like this guy, so it was this guy. No, it was that guy because I don't like that guy. No, my guy did no wrong. Your guy can do no right. And that's every single person I'm dealing with on the internet, pretty much without exception, right? And again, it's like, okay, but it doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? It doesn't work like that. Like, there's so much that gets, because news travels around the world faster than the speed of light. Like, it's so fast, right? So you have to really just like my grandfather's rules. Leave nothing of what you hear and only half of what you see. Take time, chew on it. Don't just react to all the headlines. Because that's what they want, right? It's like that is the information war. Is just the outrage porn. You know what I mean? Like, just get everybody mad. Just keep them so mad. Oh, this guy did this. Oh, this guy did. But did he do that? Did he do that? You know what I mean? Like channels I recommend. There's a lot of channels I recommend. Usually the more calmer, collected people tend to be less popular, right? And I find these channels from time to time, and sometimes they get a little bit ranty and a little bit partisan. That's a little hard to stomach. But like the big ones, just kind of pass them. Don't be like yeah. If you're following like the Nick Fuentes versus whoever this week, if you want to go to that rage bait stuff, fine. But it's not going to give you any solutions or answers. If you're going to go to like the Young Turks, good luck with that. You know what I mean? If you're going to go to CNN or Fox News or thinking that they're different, you know what I mean? Like they're both owned by the same banksters. These people bankroll, like, again, the people that are invested in the oil are invested in the media. You know what I mean? Like they're also invested in the wind and solar. Like, it's just mob bosses fighting, guys. The hyper partisans, like for example, on the left, do not go to Young Turks. Don't listen. Take anything they or Midas touch. Do not go to those channels. Leave those channels. If you're on the left, don't go there. Okay, if you're on the right, do not go to Next News. Do not go to X22. SGT report is still pretty good. Um, like don't go to those channels because they're gonna lie to you because they'll always tell you their guy's good just so you hate the other guy more because we're winning. Or Dr. Steve Tooley. Yeah, don't fucking even look at that guy. I'm not saying he's a bad man, but he's full of shit. You are not winning. Trump is not your savior. He is a fucking bad guy. The same way all of them are bad. Putin, the Q people, any of Mel K, don't listen. Simon Parks, don't listen to those people. Cut them out of your life. There is no fucking Q and the Patriots and the White Hats. I have never found any evidence other than we have an insider. Rests are coming. They don't exist. It's people grifting. It's people grifting, right? Don't listen to those. They're on the left. Look, I'm calling out left and right. You know what I mean? There's more on the left that I wouldn't listen. Like, don't listen to Vaush. You know what I mean? Like, if you're or Destiny or like, don't listen to fucking idiots like that or ContraPoints or whatever. Don't listen to those people. Good people to listen to. SGT is pretty good. Okay. Yeah. What do you call it? What's her name? She just started popping up about 6 months ago. Something L. What do you call it? Not Book of L. What's it? Blonde girl, anyway. But she's really good at talking about policy. You know what I mean? Yeah, she's a little on the left. Okay, fine, whatever. Yeah, she doesn't really like Trump, but she keeps the partisan pretty down. Klaus, another Canadian guy out in BC. Yeah, he's on the left. There's no doubt about that. But when Daniel Smith does good, and he doesn't like Daniel Smith, and he'll say, "Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree with Doug Ford. I agree with that. I don't like when they do this, but when they're doing because he just wants the truth." And I'm like, okay, you can put your left wing spin on it, but as long as you're saying, okay, well, no, this is the policy. This is what happened. Now, he absolutely hates Trump. There's no doubt about that. But he's not lying. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm trying to discern is who's lying to me, who's just telling me what I want to hear, who's just telling me that their guy's the best and whatever, who's cheerleading, right? And that's why you can't go to these bigger grifters. They're not good. I love Red Ice. I think Red Ice is great. But they're more from... more of a nationalist, you could even call them white nationalists, sure. But the policies and problems they're talking about are real. Millennial Woes, I think, is fantastic when he does his Millennial. He gets some of the most smartest intellectual people on there, on the left, on the right, whatever. What you call it? Who else is... Blonde in the Belly of the Beast, Rebecca, again, more from the nationalist side. Cameron, there's three of them there. I think that is one of the best podcasts I've heard on the internet ever. It's just the way they do it. Mind you, they're more from the right perspective or whatever, but they do get into depth on policy. And Cameron is very intellectual. He even disagrees with his co-host, but he disagrees for the right reasons. You know what I mean? And he said, look, because you got to look at this and look at that. I don't agree with everything he says, but I like the way man thinks. Because he's understanding, like, look, these problems, they're not going to go away, and we're in it, and the only way out is through. And he's 100% correct on that. And the thing is rather than just tell you, okay, well, feminism bad or the left bad, whatever, it's like, no, these are symptoms of problems, this and that. Here's why Trump is not your guy. You know what I mean? I like that. I like that because it's like, okay, well, there's an honesty to it. Can you get things wrong? Yes. But over time, you tend to get things right because you can correct when you think you're wrong and you find evidence that says, hey, no, guys. And I've done this many times on this channel where I've said, guys, no, I may have been wrong on that. Sorry about that. Like the Javier Milei thing, the jury's out. Like I still don't know if he's the good guy or the bad guy. If he did what I thought he did, and what it sounds like he's done, he may have done the right things very harshly. I mean, that's going to have a lot of negative consequences for the Argentinians, but it might be a global model going forward from a nationalist point of view, which would maybe fix a lot of things. You know what I mean? Like the deals we're making, like with Brazil around the United States and stuff like that. And okay, Trump wants to screw around with the potash and the food supply in the States. Fine, but the Brazilians are ready to buy that potash from us. You know what I mean? Once we make those deals, you're going to need to know about that, whether you're on the left or on the right, because that's going to pertain to your food supply. This is what I'm talking about. Like, I just want to give you guys the most accurate I can, even if I take a little flack of saying, oh, this guy might be doing slightly better than the other guy, even if I don't like both of them. You know what I mean? But the last thing I will ever do to you is like lie, saying, well, my guy can do no wrong, and I'm all in on this guy. So bang, there we go. When he's not doing right, I didn't see nothing. No, I will. I told you guys years in advance. When my side does bad, they're not on my side. You know what I mean? And that's not punching right. That is cutting the wheat from the chaff, saying, no, these guys have lied to you. My side, we are not going to lie to you. That's why I'm a nationalist. Because I don't need to lie. All they've got to do is tell the truth, and I win every time. Because no matter how much you spin things, okay, in the immediate, people are reactionary. But over time, reality is the teacher, right? So when somebody promises you free stuff, basic universal income, sure. One question: how are you going to pay for it? Or we're going to tax rich? No. What is the policy that is going to pay for basic income? If not, I'm on board. I would love to spend my days not having to work for anybody else. I'd love it, But how are you going to pay for it? Oh, you racist, you bigot. No, that's not the question I asked. I asked, how are you going to pay for it? Right? And this is the problem. You can't have conversations with people at the dinner table, and I don't, because I'm like, whenever I'm around somebody and they start ranting on the left or the right, I just let them rant. I pick your battles. It's insignificant, right? You don't bring it up at the dinner table. You don't bring up politics here. You don't bring up, and there's some people they haven't figured that out yet, that you got to pick your battles. But what I'm telling you though is that you don't need to do that, because what you need to do is plant the seed of getting people into a right-hand path preparedness mindset. That, hey, look, even if you hate the other guy, you really trust your guy's going to come through for you. And some people are just bang right on the back. The mainstream media said it was this, therefore it was that. And I'm like, but it's not. Right? And you can't help those people. You got to let them figure it out the hard way. Pain is a great teacher, right? But pain also gets people into just hyper reactionary mode, just pendulum swinging all the time. And it's sickening, right? It's sickening. I was like, do we have to go radical left, then back to the radical right, then back to like, how about we just say, let's sort out what the fucking problems are, deal with those people with rule of law, charge them with crimes against humanity or treason or whatever bad things they're doing, hang them high, get the fuck off our planet, and get back to our lives. And then we can all, hate each other in peace, maybe. You know what I mean? That would be great. But what I'm looking at is to try to get you guys to not just believe your own. And I get it. It's comfortable to sit in your echo chamber. It is comfortable to listen to the people you like to listen to. We all do this. I do this. You do this. But you also have to understand that sometimes you have to go under the radar into the uncomfortable zone, listening to ideas you do not like, to understand how your opponent thinks. Do you not think, like I said earlier, that Trump with his Art of the Deal book, you don't think Carney read that book 5 times just to know how to play Trump? Of course he did. Why? Because it's in his benefit to do so. I'm not saying he did read it, but do you not think he would? I would. I'd be like, oh, the man wrote his memoirs? I'm going to read his memoirs. I'm going to find out a lot about it. You think Putin, an ex-KGB guy, wouldn't have read The Art of the Deal 85 times? You think Xi could be in the power position he's in by being a stupid man? Like, do you really think that? No, of course you don't. So how did they get there? Well, they went in under the radar. Putin knows how to play he knows how to put on the act. He knows how to play the game because he's smart enough to understand what the pitfalls are. Where this is what like Putin is very covert. George Bush was overt. Trump is very overt. Obama was covert. Okay, Carney is kind of covert. He kind of goes under the radar. on purpose. The idea is to outrun the outrage of Donald Trump, right? So what he does is he'll tell Trump what he wants to hear, and then he backstabs him and he goes, makes a deal over here, makes a deal over here, whatever, just to get ahead of it. Now, you're starting to hear through the U.S. ambassador to Canada all the threats he's making to us and stuff like that. He's saying this on behalf of Trump. So you listen to him, you understand what Trump is thinking, right? So the thing is that he's telling us what we can and can't do with our military. He's telling us what we can and can't do with our economy, because it's like, no, you're going to, under our sphere of influence, you will sell to who we tell you could sell to. That's basically what the American economy, the American administration, Trump's administration is telling us. We will decide who all the South Americans, who Canada are going to be allowed to do trade with in this sphere of influence. So if we say you can't do any more trade with China, you can't do any more trade with China, whatever. Okay, well, naval blockade. Well, naval blockades always get busted by torpedoes. So, and you say, well, yeah, but Canada doesn't have any submarines. Yes, we do. We've got 4. 4 is enough. 4 is enough. You know what I mean? Yeah, sure, the Americans have got more. But that said, like torpedoes can come from the air, they can come from the land, they can come from many different areas, right? They can come from drones, they can, you know what I mean? Like what do you do with a remote control speedboat that drops off Mark 54 torpedoes up over your submarine? You know what I mean? Well, the Russians tell me that super battle cruisers get taken out by a Penguin missile. You know what I mean? Navies, anything navies are not it's not World War II anymore, guys. The warfare has changed. The warfare now is mainly cyber. It's fifth dimensional, right? And this is what you have to kind of get out of this. Well, our military is this big, and we have look. Russia has the most tanks in the world, and they can't just steamroll Ukraine. They have 12,000 tanks. They probably lost about 8,000 of them already. They had 12,000 tanks. The Ukrainians had 2,000 tanks at the beginning of the war. You know what I mean? They've lost almost all of them, right? And they didn't lose them from tank on tank. There's only been maybe about 5 or 10 tank on tank battles in the Ukraine. So where'd all these tanks go? $200 drones, $150 drones, artillery. You know what I mean? Like when you start thinking about it like that, it's like, oh, warfare has changed. Yes, it has. You know what I mean? And it starts with bad information. And people still make excuses for Trump. They're like, oh, well, he's just getting bad intel and stuff. No, the man's not stupid. I can say a lot of bad things about Trump, but he's not stupid. And because he's not stupid, it means he's in on it. You know what I mean? He's an egomaniac, all that stuff. He's impulsive. Yes, he's Herculean. He's Stalinistic. Not Iron Fist Stalin, but like a 5-year plan. If things don't go to court and plan, you get put up against the wall, so to speak. Trump just fires you. Stalin would have you shot. He's going Napoleonic in conquest where, well, we're just going to control the Northern Hemisphere. Listen to Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon explained, look, no, Trump's going to be in 2028, and we're going to control the Northwest Passage, and we're going to control, I don't know if we're going to go around the Cape Horn of Argentina. Good luck with that. Maybe that's what that $40 billion, $20 or $40 billion bailout to Argentina is about, buying influence down there. I don't know. Maybe we could see Falklands 2.0 kicking off. Because the thing is that, okay, if the United States controls the Panama Canal and the Chinese, not that anybody wants to take the shipping route around the Cape Horn of Argentina because it's so dangerous. That's the whole point of the Panama Canal. All these South American countries, if they say, no, we're going to do trade with whoever we want to, does that mean the Americans are going to do naval blockades on every country? And if they do, they're doing it with Venezuela right now, but the thing is how long is that going to last? Because once that kicks off, if the Venezuelans are serious about, saying no, yeah, sure, the United States can destroy Venezuela, but Venezuela can make it very, very painful. And again, Iraq was the most advanced military the United States ever fought was Iraq. Canada is way leaps bounds. We're pretty much on par with the Americans, just not to the same scale. And we don't have all the same stuff, but for most of the part, we're to the same scale. But soldiers-wise, Canadian soldiers, I'm not talking about the woke guys and stuff like that, but the ones that are of the fighting force that can actually fight, they're forces to be reckoned with. We Canadian soldiers are legendary in combat. Yeah, they've always done more with less, right? Technology is only a part of the equation. It helps, but it's not the absolute. The stealth stuff is, its days are numbered. Look, the Russians have partial stealth, and uh, they can't get in close. You know what I mean? The air defense systems are just getting too good. The Iranians, they could have shot down the B-2s if they wanted to escalate. You know, the next round, I think that's when you're going to see the mask off with Iran. You're going to find out, oh, these guys actually do have some fucking serious firepower and capabilities. They can shoot down anything. They can destroy any aircraft carrier. There's nothing the United States can do in that area. When Iran says it's ours, that's it. If Venezuela says Bay of Pigs 2.0, that's it. The question then is, well, Trump might be correct. He says, look, people might not going to like they don't want to take the pain and suffering of what we're going to have to do to take over Canada, to take over Venezuela, to take over, to support Israel, to, stop the Russians in the Ukraine. But yeah, of course nobody wants that. We don't want to fight globalist wars anymore. That's why Trump got elected in the first place. But yet he betrayed his own base, right? And they're pissed. They're pissed. And the thing is that what we have to wait for is, like, again, Trump's spoken like a true neocon that, well, to steal Canada, like Canada is just it's a nothing country. And all these people like, like even Black Pigeon Speaks, who I really like, for example, he's kind of like, I get it, he's an expat Canadian, so there's, I kind of view expats a little bit as a bit of treason, maybe not, maybe that's, but okay, if you're an expat, you're an expat, whatever. And I get it, he's still reminiscing over the Trudeau era of how bad things were and that Canada's completely fucked and there's nothing we can do. And I don't see it that way. I'm like, yeah, we are in a bad spot. And it's going to take us decades to undo the post-national stuff, but we're stepping into a nationalist mindset, and he doesn't look at that side of the equation. He just looks at the post-national, oh, Canadians have no ability to fight back and nobody's saying it. I'm like, well, what are you, like, how could you say there's nobody pushing back? We don't have institutional power, but I mean, all these anti-immigration protests are everywhere. It's not to the level of Ireland yet. Ireland's kind of the canary in the coal mine. But you're starting to see people, all thy sons, or whatever they call it, banner drops off the, the overpasses in Ontario there. Like, I mean, yeah, it's like, remigration now is kind of like, that's going to be the word for 2026. And you can call me racist, bigot, or whatever, but no, we're there. We're there. The polarization is complete. It doesn't matter what the institutions want anymore, because the institutions are going to be isolated around the people. Again, getting back to what I said, the future of Muammar Gaddafi is the future of the world elites if they keep going down the route they're going. I'm not calling for it. I'm just saying people have had enough. They don't want another temporary foreign worker. They want these people to go home. You know what I mean? They don't want Trump's, Americans are too stupid to fucking be able to build their own stuff like they used to, so we have to bring in all this technical labor, right? Yeah. So people are done with politicians really fucking them over. And that's just a pitchfork revolution from happening. Like, who's going to be the new Marie Antoinette? I don't know. But what I'm telling you is that the French Revolution, like that played out twice, right? And you can almost say it's in French Revolution 3.0. It's just everybody talks about the main one, right? And that started with the overthrowing of a queen. Poor queen, it just kind of came in at the wrong time, but let them eat cake, I guess. You know what I mean? But again, the politicians with the "you're racist, bigot" is let them eat cake is the equivalent. Oh, well, you don't like mass immigration. You don't want to train up your temporary foreign worker to replace you in your job, whether you're in Canada, the States, or in Europe, or whatever. Oh, well, you're just racist, bigot, and that's hate speech, and blah, blah, blah. Or let them eat cake. Right? Like, pick one. It's the same thing. It's the elite class saying, go fuck yourselves. We're going to do whatever we want, and there's nothing you can do about it. Problem is pitchfork revolutions always say, no, that's not how it works. I'm not calling for it, but I'm saying I don't see how it doesn't happen that way. And you're going to really start to see it after February in 2026, when the food shortages really start hitting the United States. Very, very terrifying. Listen to the farmers, guys. Listen to the farmers. Even if you don't believe me, listen to your farmers. And just see if you can find some positive news on farming. Not corporate, they made billions of dollars. No, like I mean food, just food. Crops. How many bumper crops were there this year? I cannot find bumper crops. All I find is like bankruptcies are like double of last year. Like that kind of stuff. Like a 55% increase in, which is okay, maybe is not the number that they made it out to be, but it's bankruptcies or bankruptcies. That's less food, period. Bailouts mean you wrote off your crop to get your bailout. That's less food. That's what you have to look at. So when you see $12 billion of aid going to the farmers, I see $12 billion of food losses. That's what I see. That's what I see. Because again, how much of that made it to market? How much didn't make it to market? We don't know yet. Again, we can't get the data yet. And that's what you need to prepare for. So anyway, we'll leave it at that. So there we go. All right. Good luck.